By the way, Truefire are running a 10-week boot camp. So it's a weekly video overview, in-depth video lesson, tiered homework assignments, community feedback, discussion, live Zoom session, and all of this for 10 weeks. Yeah, get involved. That's free, and you know, I'm a fan of the Truefire stuff anyway. I'm also going to be using a Helix Native now, using a JCM 800 preset, just because, I don't know, I like the sound of them. So that's in the amp in the room tones, the 2203 roomy tone, if you want to try that out. Okay, here I've got some tissue in my ears, so this is going to be allowed. I've got a head-first clone of a Friedman Dirty Shirley. Now I think Dirty Shirley is a like hot-rodded JTM 45, and I think Friedman, along with maybe Blackstar and Victory, have kind of been eating quite a lot of Marshall's lunch. Marshall had just announced a new thing, so I think there's some good news here and there's some bad news, but modded amps. I think it's interesting to think maybe this could change the fortune of Marshall a bit. Anyway, so this is just the amp, just an SM57. If you've never tried this sort of thing with a Marshall, this is not a 4x12, it's just a 1x12, but terms of pure drive tones, I have to say that so if the Friedman Dirty Shirley is anything like this, I'm absolutely blown away by sort of the drive tones you can get from this sort of thing. This is loud in the room, maybe sort of about gig volume, but there are certain gigs maybe you could imagine where this would be like the ideal amp. Equally, there's a bunch of gigs for me that I do all the time where I need something that can do really clean stuff, and this seems to be the area where Marshall amps, especially this kind of thing. So I think I was chatting to my buddy Ben Fletcher about the SB20, which is like their 20 watt version of the Plexi, and I was just asking, like, is there giggable cleans in there? And basically the answer was like, not really, no. It's kind of optimized for this sort of thing. So this is a 20 watt 6v6, which is a bit different. But it seems to be the way with quite a lot of the Marshall stuff where, yeah, people don't rave about the clean tones. In any case, I guess the thought for me was, what I thought was going to happen with Marshall, you know, is around the sort of time where their CEO was talking, and they were talking about, you know, trying to keep up with what guitarists need in like recent years, and I was a little bit worried that we were going to be getting like Marshalls that are just like getting into the digital realm more, you know, or modeling Marshall amps and that sort of thing. So from that point of view, I'm really happy that these are like, you know, all like tube amplifiers are not sort of diluting the brand in a similar sense to like what Fender do, where, you know, they call a deluxe reverb, whether it's, you know, solid state modeling tech or an actual real tube amp. I think that to me is a little bit sort of diluting what a deluxe reverb could or should be to some extent. At least I think there's some strong indication that Marshall are still serious about pumping out like real decent tube amps. The JCM 800, you know, like a modified version of that. The Plexi 1959, a modified version of that. The downside as I see it, so I just watched the Andertons demo of this, you're looking now at $3,000 amps, which was the thing that initially surprised me about Marshall. Was when I sort of started looking at Marshall amps again, it was like, actually these are really quite affordable for us UK people. Like Silver Jubilees around £1,200, Plexis around that sort of range, and then there's this new modified range which is coming in at $3,000, and you think, well, that's actually even more than a Friedman Plex would be. Which to me seems like a little bit of a problem, because Friedman at this point are very much the go-to. Like if you're wanting like a Marshall sound modded, Friedman would be, I think, for a lot of people the go-to. Let me know in the comments if you kind of would prefer a Marshall on there. But I think even for you guys in the US, if you're watching, I think you're probably paying better prices for Friedman gear than we are. And even over here, the Friedman Plex is like 2,555 or 2,7. It looks like these new Marshall options are going to be 2,999. Is that enough nines? So that to me is going to be a thing that is going to go, you know, are people going to, I think there's going to be limited interest to some extent in that, because it's like, who can afford a $3,000 amp where most of what it's going to be doing is like all gain all the time? And a lot of us, I think, also need like an amp that can do just actual crystal clear stuff, clean, and is a modded Plexi or a modded JCM 800 going to get us there? I wonder. But interesting, they've also brought out a bunch of pedals. So this is for me the most interesting thing I've seen come out of NAMM so far. I'd like to see Marshall amps sort of reclaim some of what's been sort of lost to, I think, like Victory and Blackstar, and certainly like these amps, they're new things, and also what they still make. I think I'd favour over, say, Victory and over Blackstar. If I was going to buy like a rock machine or something that could do these kind of things, I think I'd go for a Marshall. But equally, I think I'd be thinking of Friedman. And obviously this is a head first clone of a Friedman, but I think this sounds really good. It has a good range of tones. It's maybe a little bit more refined, but yeah, I think if something like a Friedman B50 or something like that, I'd be more inclined to think that I could do really good clean tones, because I think it has the Buxom Betty and really good drive tones. So I don't know, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Is this gonna make you more or less interested in Marshall? Have you any interest in like $3,000 amps at this point? Would you try gigging these things, or can you see these being gigged, or are they more of a collector's piece in your mind? Let me know your thoughts. And also, yeah, just take a look at the prices of Marshall stuff in general. It's actually way more reasonable than I ever thought it might be. And certainly used Marshalls, you can get a bunch of them. So it's kind of cool from that point of view. Yeah,